Hi, this is Irv Shapiro on the Dr. Vax channel, and today we're going to present the cure for Fortnite. Are you concerned that you know a child, your grandson, your granddaughter, perhaps your son or your daughter, who's spending just too much time on video games? Sure, they have a headset on, they have a microphone, they're talking to friends, but they're in this virtual world, this unreal experience. They're no longer doing real things. Well, there's a cure for that. Make something with a child today. By making something on a 3D printer, or perhaps by producing a pen that they'll take to school every day and use, or encouraging them to learn a bit of electronics and robotics. Even by creating an old-fashioned wooden cabinet that they can use to store the baseballs they collect with their folks when they go to games. You're going to create memories, experiences for you and for your grandchild together. So stay tuned, hold on, and we will learn together some of the things you can do with a child together, all accessible to anyone today. The skills I'm going to present can be learned by anyone who can watch a YouTube video. Okay, let's learn something together. Okay, we're going to begin by showing you how to use YouTube to basically learn anything. Now, YouTube is a remarkable phenomenon. The vast majority of the content is free. In fact, unless you have a YouTube paid subscription, everything you're going to be seeing is free. You can subscribe to channels. That's sort of like adding a channel to your lineup. Completely free. The channel producers, the content producers, get paid via advertising and affiliate links. So there is no reason you shouldn't be consuming content on YouTube. Now, in fact, you know that because you're watching this on YouTube. But what I'm going to share with you is you should be broadening your horizons and looking for additional things. Let me give you a couple quick examples. Okay, let's take a look very quickly at my YouTube channel and how I use it for learning. If you're already familiar with this, skip a couple minutes forward in the video and we'll talk about some of the specific projects you can do with a child today. You'll notice that I see here home, trending, and history. That's the generic YouTube. To get a more customized view, I do have to sign into YouTube. Now, when you sign into YouTube with a particular account, you are allowing Google to track the things you're watching on YouTube. That will also empower Google to show you things that are interesting to you based on things you've looked at. So you can always sign into Google, and then by clicking on your name again on the right-hand side, you can sign out again when you don't want to be tracked. Once you sign into Google, you'll see home, trending, but you'll also see something called subscriptions. Now, these are not paid subscriptions. This is not YouTube Red. This is not YouTube TV. These are just subscriptions, channels that you've said you're interested in and you'd like YouTube to show you more information on those. So you can see I have a series of news channels that I follow, but I also follow a whole series of 3D printing, design, and building channels. This is a channel about woodworking. Now, by subscribing to these channels, you'll see I'm subscribed. I am once again saying to YouTube, show me more things like that on my homepage. Now, the second thing you need to know is that YouTube is not just for finding out news. So as an example, if I want to learn how to make pens, I can type in pen turning, and I'll see videos on how to make pens on a wood lathe. If I want to learn about 3D printing, I can type in 3D printing and find out about 3D printing. If there's a particular channel I'm interested in that I know about, such as Dr. Vax, I can type that in. Now I will see a bunch of videos from Dr. Vax, my channel, but if I click on my name, I then have the option to subscribe to the channel. Once again, subscriptions are free. Okay, now that we've learned a bit about YouTube, I want to encourage everyone to use it actively. If you're new to learning new technology things, you might have to watch the videos 3 or 4 or 5 times. But anyone can learn. And for those of us that are newly retired, the best way to ensure we stay sharp is learning new things every day. One of the hobbies, one of the things you can make with a child are pens. Now, for most kids, for most adults, as a matter of fact, if you show them one of these pens that was made on a $200 lathe in my basement with my grandchildren, they won't believe that's possible. But it's really a very easy skill to learn and accessible to everyone. What you'll need to get started is a pen kit you buy online. There'll be some links down below to show you places you can buy these. Wooden or acrylic blanks. Both of these are a couple bucks. A pen kit might be anywhere from $3 to $10, maybe a bit more if you use fancy materials. The wooden blanks are also $3 to $8 a piece. And then you'll need a pen lathe. The pen lathe I recommend for getting started is the Pen Pal lathe, and you'll see some examples here in the video. In addition to the pen lathe, you will need a turning tool, a tool that you can use for carving the blanks. And here you can see what it looks like to carve a pen. Finally, there are 2 other tools that are optional. You can buy blanks that are prepared to be turned. They're already pre-drilled, or you can drill them yourselves. You can drill them with a drill press that you can get for, about $75 at Harbor Freight or a big box hardware store, and potentially some type of saw to cut them. It's a little hard to do because they're small with a power handsaw, but you can put these in a vise and cut them with a handsaw that you buy very inexpensively. Or the tool I recommend is a small desktop bandsaw, also available for under $100. So you can completely equip your shop for under $500. That's less than most video game consoles, to be able to produce these wonderful pens with your children, with your grandchildren, creating both pens and memories. Here are a couple other shots of me doing this with my grandchildren. In this segment, we're going to talk about 3D printing. Now, when I was in college, there used to be a television commercial that advertised, go into computers if you like building things, making things, and you don't want to get your hands dirty. Well, 3D printing is really the ideal hobby for someone who likes to be creative, wants to make things, but they don't want to get their hands dirty. You will have to, though, be able to install software on a computer and do a little bit of tinkering. So if you're comfortable with installing software on a computer and a little bit of tinkering, adjusting things, fixing things, 3D printing will be a wonderful hobby for you, your children, and your grandchildren. An easy way to get started is to go to Monoprice and select one of the ready-to-use printers. This is the Monoprice Select Mini. It's often available for under $200. I'd actually recommend you get the Mini Pro. It's recently introduced. It's about $20 or $30 more, but it has a removable print surface, which makes it easier to get the prints off the print surface when you're done. In order to 3D print an object, you need a model. You can download the models off the internet from sites like Thingiverse, or you can build the models yourself with a computer-aided design program like Tinkercad. And you'll see in this channel there are a number of videos that show you how to do both of those. After you have a model, you need to prepare the model for the printer. That's where you need to install software on your computer. To prepare a model for the printer, you use a slicer. A slicer takes your model and converts it into layers, slices it into layers, because 3D printers, as you'll see in the video shown in the corner, print by printing layer by layer. Then when you're done, you take the model off the print surface and you're ready to go. So your 3D printer will cost you $200, $250. You can spend a lot more, but there are a limited selection of printers for under $300 that are fully assembled. You can find some of those on the Monoprice website. Now, if you're interested in building a printer from a kit, the Creality Ender printers are an excellent starting point for a kit, and you'll see some videos on the channel about that. In addition, you'll need a paint scraper, you'll need a diagonal cutter, and you'll need a needle nose pliers. And if you watch some of the videos about the Monoprice Select Mini, you'll see how those are used. Finally, you'll need to buy filament. Now, filament is about $25 a roll, depending on the size of the roll. These are PLA filaments. That's a good place to start. So 3D printing is an excellent way to get started with a craft that you can do with your grandchild and keep your hands clean. In this segment, we're going to talk about electronics. Now, the world of electronics, and specifically the world of digital electronics, computer electronics, has changed dramatically during the time I've been in the industry. I've been in the computer industry for over 40 years. And when I started in the industry, computers were the size of a large refrigerator. Today, you can buy a single board computer for $40 that, after you add a monitor and a keyboard, is a full function computer. This is called a Raspberry Pi. It's a $40 single board computer. But even more interesting to me is this little device down here, which is $25. This is a Circuit Playground Express by Adafruit. And what this is it's a computer that is able to sense the outside world. It can sense temperature, it can sense proximity with additional sensors, it can sense humidity, it can sense distance. And this little computer for $25 can be used to build many of the devices that we assume you have to buy. You want to build your own alarm system? Use the Circuit Playground Express. You want to know when your child comes home, your latchkey son or grandson or granddaughter comes home from school? Have them tap a button that uses a Circuit Express. You want to build your own smart home system. Combination of these two components, configured in a variety of ways, is all you need. So the barriers to building stuff made with electronics are no longer there. So how do you get started doing this? Because this is a lot of fun. This is really the gateway to robotics that you can do with your grandchild. Well, I would recommend buying this book and one of these. Together you'll spend under $50. And it will allow you to get started learning about this world of computer automation. So let's look together at how you might do that. Now, once you purchase your Circuit Express, you will take and plug that in to a USB port on your computer. And when you plug that into a USB port on your computer, be prepared because it's going to light up. And when it's all green, that means it's ready to program. We know it's ready to program because we see it looks like a USB drive. And if we double click on this, we'll see it works just like a USB drive. But it's a very special USB drive because if you copy something to this USB drive, which is a program prepared for the Circuit Playground Express, it will run that program. So there are a variety of ways to create programs for this. The easiest way is to go to makecode.adafruit.com, and there you'll see there are a whole range of tutorials of things you can build with the Circuit Playground Express, including examples where you learn about the various sensors, examples where you learn how to make it make sounds, or you learn how to make it show colors. Let's do something very simple together to show you an example of that. I'm going to click on New Project, and you'll see it puts this block here that says Forever. What that means is anything we drag into that block will keep running over and over again. Now you'll also see, here's a picture that looks very similar to our Circuit Express, Playground Express. And this will simulate what will happen when we program something. So let's say here I click on Light, and I take this option called Show Ring, and I put it in Forever. And then once this starts running, you'll see that the colors change on this simulated application. Now I could change the colors here. And you'll see that the colors will change on the simulated application. Now, if I want to, let's make this a little more interesting here. Okay, now we'll let it run. Now, if I want to do that on a real device, all I have to do is click on Download here. And it gives you the instructions here, but we're now going to show this in the Finder because I'm on a Mac, but if you look at it in the File Explorer on a PC, it would be the same. I'm going to also open up this USB device and just drag this application into here. Now you can ignore the "this not ejected" message, but you'll see now that our program is running on this device. So if you can drop and drag things, then you can program something on one of these devices. Let's do a very simple additional example. Let's say that we wanted to play a tone. And you'll see that sound is now coming from the computer. I'm going to download that now. I'm going to then press the reset button on my physical device. Release it. It will go green again. That will open it up over here. Now I'm going to open this file. I'm going to open up my device that looks like a USB device. I'm going to drag it over, And as soon as that loads, this device will now start beeping. Oh, there we go. Now it's a little bit soft, so I'm going to hold this up to the mic here. I hadn't dragged it over completely. So that's how easy it is to program this device. Let me get rid of this. Now, by adding a couple additional components, this is a component called a breadboard, we could connect external components to this device. That's why you have all these gold pads along the outside. Now that will be covered in another video in detail. But what I want to conclude with is the idea that the gateway to electronics, to basic computer programming, to building real things that make sounds, that sense things, that light up, are all available to you. And a wonderful way to get started is to buy a copy of this book, buy a couple of these $25 computers, and start making stuff with a child. To wrap up this video, let's talk about woodworking with children safely. Now, wood is a remarkable material. It's inexpensive, it's easy to cut, it's easy to glue, you can nail it together, you can screw it together, and it can be used to make a wide range of things. So it's important to note, and you'll see I have another video specifically about this, but just because you might have a 3D printer doesn't mean you need to 3D print everything. By combining woodworking and 3D printing and electronics, you've opened the world of creativity. The key to woodworking with a child is safety. And the key to safety is understanding what equipment is appropriate to use with a child and what equipment is not. So let's start with hand power tools. In general, a cordless drill is a relatively safe device, in particular if used with traditional drill bits. And it's a good way to start a child in using powered tools. Now you need to be careful with a electric drill, cordless or corded, if you start using more exotic bits, spade bits, circle cutters, because they do have a rotating surface outside of the bit that could harm the child. So a good place to start. Another tool that in the area of saws is probably the safest saw to use with a child is a jigsaw. Now in both cases, a jigsaw or a cordless drill, the key to safety include wearing goggles, wearing dust masks if appropriate, and clamping everything down. So these clamps, and they say in a woodworking shop, you never can have enough clamps. Clamps are very important. Never ever with a child hold something by hand. Now a tool I would not use with a child at all until high school is a circular saw. Now a circular saw is a very versatile tool. You probably will want to have one in your workshop and you'll use it, but it is not appropriate in my opinion to use with a child. Circular saws include both handheld and bench type saws. So a compound miter saw, you'll see a picture of that in the corner, is another form of a saw that I have in my shop and I use, but in general I do not use with my grandchildren. And a table saw may be the most dangerous piece of equipment in most home shops. In fact, I do not own a table saw at all. I use a compound miter saw for cross cutting, that's cutting across long boards. I use a handheld circular saw for ripping or cutting, let's say, large sheets of plywood. And two other tools that I think are appropriate when used carefully with children are two benchtop tools, actually three. One is a benchtop sander, the next is a benchtop drill press, and the third is a benchtop bandsaw. Now, a bandsaw can be dangerous, but work can be clamped very securely and used appropriately. And often I will use the bandsaw with my grandchildren. So the key to safety is clamp everything down. Now, let's look at some examples together. In this first example, my grandson is using a drill press. You'll notice that he's wearing eye protection and that the wood that he's drilling into is securely clamped. In fact, there are multiple clamps holding it in place. The next lesson that will apply to everything you do with a child is they need to know where their hands are. You need to reinforce the idea that you need to know where each of your hands are, and they should be nowhere near a moving part. In this next example, you see my grandson using a rotary sander. A rotary sander is really relatively safe. Even if you were to hold your hand on the sandpaper, you'd have to press pretty hard to do any serious harm to your hand. But it produces a lot of dust, which could be dangerous to a child. So you'll notice in this case, my grandson has both eye protection and a dust mask. One way to improve the safety of using devices is to build jigs or guides for your goods, for the wood that you're manufacturing, that you're fabricating, to ensure that you can use them safely. And you'll see that in this video example. Now, one of the most remarkable things you will learn about making things with kids is even a kid who is unlikely to clean their room will enjoy cleaning up the shop with you. It's part of the fun because they've produced something with their hands. They want to be involved in the complete job. So in conclusion, folks, the cure for video games, the cure for childhood boredom is to make something with a child today. And it's a cure for not just them, but you. Perhaps you're a new retiree. You're not sure how to spend your time. Make something with a child today. Build skills, learn new things, and you will create memories for the child and for yourself for a lifetime. Thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please like this video. Please leave comments and tell me what things you'd like to hear more about, what other videos you'd like me to make, and please subscribe to this channel. Thanks again. Let's continue learning things together.